Barakatay Hawa, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Racha Kodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is, it's going to get very interesting soon. And pretty much, you've heard the headlines of what's going on, with that pipeline, the Nord Stream 1 and 2. And, that's causing a lot of friction. Biden already said out of his mouth what he would do if Russia did so and so and such and such. And what's funny about it is that as Europe is going through, the world pretty much is going through economic crisis, but especially Europe right now is going through an economic crisis. And, prices are going through the roof on the energy, the energy prices are going through the roof, food prices and all kind of stuff. At the same time, this happening, is going to really affect them even more, because the two main pipelines that were, supplying those natural, those energy prices to them, or the energy, are, what's the word I'm looking for? Are interrupted. So that's going to cause problems. They're saying it's going to be a very cold winter. And with this happening, that means that the fuel supply is going to be even shorter, which is going to cause, which can more than likely cause the prices to skyrocket even more because of the supply. They got something called supply and demand. So, it's very interesting was coming down the pike, or down the pipe, down the pike. And, we're just watching everything unfolding in front of us. All of the prophecies unfolding, in front of us as we move along, in this world pretty much, until the Lord comes and deliver us. But all these things are necessary because all these things were spoken of in the scriptures, that they had to happen prior to the kingdom of heaven being established. So I just got a couple of precepts I want to go through, and then just take it from there. The first precept I want to go through is in the book of Mark, the 13th chapter. And the reason why I went here is because you could go to Matthew 24. It says pretty much the same thing. But here, Mark, I just like the way it's worded. Mark 13, we're going to start at the 5th verse and read a couple of verses. It's Mark 13 and 5. And Yahushua answering them began to say, "Take heed lest any man deceive you." Why? Because we're coming to a point now where there's a great deception going on. There's a great awakening, but there's also a great deception, because even those that are woke are deceiving the people because they took the bag, pretty much. "For many shall come in my name, saying, I am the anointed, and shall deceive many," right? Saying that they come in the name of the Lord, or they come as representatives, but they're going to really deceive many. Because really what it is the Lord is setting up the stage for when his son Yahushua comes back, to set it up for many people to be destroyed, because it said that the slain of the Lord shall be many. "And when you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars, be ye not troubled." And that's the key. That's important, because these rumors is what's circulating more so than actual wars. But those rumors are leading from cold wars to spoken wars to hot wars. And this very thing that just went down could really be a serious trigger to what's coming down the pike. So let me look up that word rumors in the book of Mark 13. And what verse was that? That was verse 7. So just bear with me 1 second while I get the verse and I get the word rumor. I don't recall okay, I went to the wrong chapter. Just bear with me 1 second. I don't recall ever looking this word up. The word there is akoe, the sense of hearing, right? The organ of hearing, the ear, the thing heard, instruction, namely oral, of preaching the gospel, hearsay, report of or rumor, yeah. So it's a report, a hearing that you hear. You know, this one's, you know, gonna do this, or that one's gonna do that. And this is going to lead to this, and that's going to lead to that, you know. So there's a lot of huffing and puffing. If you do this, I'm going to do that. If you do that, I'm going to do this. But all of that is just pretty much setting the stage for this final battle, which is World War III, Armageddon, the Valley of Jehoshaphat, Yahweh-Shaphat. So it says that when you shall hear war of wars and rumors of wars, be ye not troubled, for such things must needs be, but the end shall not be yet. Right, because the main thing before this stuff can really, really fully pop, the MOTB, which is a C-HIP, has to be fully implemented before this thing can really, really pop. So what the Lord is doing right now, he's just setting the stage. You know, he's letting a little pop here, a little pop there. And eventually, what happens, like when you have a fight, you know, whether it's a boxing match or MMA or whatever the case may be, you have the pre-fight, you know, interviews and, you know, weigh-ins and all that stuff where the boxers, you know, or whatever fighter, they talking shit one to another prior to them getting in that ring. And that's what's happening right now. You have the major players of the world scene, you know, talking that bullshit, you know, bigging up or prepping the fight, you know, for that particular night. And then when that night comes, which is Esau's night, and it pops off, they're gonna get knocked flat on their ass. It says, for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be earthquakes in divers places, and there shall be famines and troubles. These are the beginning of sorrows, right? Because at the end, when the final destruction comes, that's really when the fireworks are going to really be coming off. So when we see Jacob's trouble, that's the prelude to the destruction. You know, that's the introduction that, yeah, not too far in the distant future, the destruction is coming. And Jacob's trouble must come to pass, and it will come to pass. So let's go from there, building on that word, rumors. Let's go to the book of Jeremiah 51. And we're going to read a couple, you know, a few verses there in Jeremiah 51, because this chapter is very important to the times that we're living in right now, at this particular time in the faith. Inside joke. Let's go to Jeremiah 51. Let's start at the 45th verse. It says, my people, go ye out of the midst of her, and deliver ye every man his soul from the fierce anger of the Lord. This is similar to what Yahweh told Israel back then. That when you see these things happening, when you see the troops coming in Jerusalem and surrounding Jerusalem, get to stepping, get the hell out of there, run to the mountains, flee. So in this time, it's being worded in a way where mentally we come out of this place, because this place is doomed, and the ones that are into this system, you know, hot and heavy, and are not using it, just like the scriptures say, using the word is not abusing it, they're gonna get caught up in the fray, so to speak. So it goes on to say, and lest your heart faint and you fear for the rumor that shall be heard in the land. Right. And there's going to be a rumor heard in the land. You know, and you're hearing these rumors of war, you know, the pestilence and different things that are happening. So mentally we're removing ourselves from this world and preparing for the destruction of this place by the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushua and for our deliverance. It says a rumor shall both come in 1 year, because it's only going to take 1 hour to destroy this place, but there has to be the build up to it. It says, and after that, in another year shall come a rumor, right? And violence in the land, ruler against ruler. And that's what's coming. So when you hear these rumors are just prepping the stage. But eventually those rumors are going to lead what? To violence, which is what? War. And prior to this major war, World War III, what's going to happen, what's going to come, is Jacob's trouble. That is the final test for the nation of Israel. The final test is Jacob's trouble. Once Jacob's trouble is fully here, then you know the kingdom of heaven is right around the corner, because during the time of Jacob's trouble, that's when the sea hip is going to be really pushed, because there's going to be people dying of thirst, people dying of famines, people being in a super desperate state where they have nothing. It's going to get cold. It's supposed to be a long cold winter. You see how they systematically destroying the supply chain, making commodities, you know, scarce, which drives the prices of the remaining supply even higher, and people are already catching hell because, you know, they're not getting the raises they used to get, and they're forced to live off of what they're making with these prices rising. And they're rising on everything: gas, food, you know, rent, because some places are doing renovations to raise the rent. In some places double the rent. So everything is being systematically set up so that it could implode within itself. Because in order for them to establish their new system, they have to implode the old system. But what they don't understand is that the implosion of the old system is going to be where it dies at. Because the new system will never get off the ground. It'll go so far, but they will never really get to fully implement it like they want to, because the Lord said that He will throw a monkey wrench, in so many words, in their enterprise. So it says, therefore, behold, the days come that I will do judgment upon the graven images of Babylon. Right. Because the Lord, see, the system of Babylon, America, or Babylon the Great, that is set up based off of their worship, which their worship is based off of these false idols, these false gods, these false religions. In the book of Wisdom of Solomon, it speaks about, you know, the idolatrous priests, which goes back to the ancient Canaanites. But America today represents the modern day Canaanites, meaning that these Edomites, even though the Canaanites were Hamites, these Edomites represent Canaan, you know, in this time. And they're going to be judged just like the Canaanites are judged. Why? Because they're following the same exact ways, the same exact playbook that the ancient Canaanites were following. And they're going to be destroyed. All right? It says, and her whole land shall be confounded. Right? Because ancient Babylon was not, the whole land was not confounded. In other words, they were taken out by night. You had Belshazzar, which was vice regent. He wasn't really the king. He was a vice regent. meaning he was acting as the authority of the king from his father. His father's name was Nabu something. I can't remember his name. I meant to look it up before I started, but I forgot. So if brothers know, if Baba Kushav, you can post it up. But what happened was that his father was taken prisoner for 10 years. I believe it was the Persians, if I'm not mistaken. And his father gave him the king's authority to act on behalf of the king while his father was gone. And that's why Belshazzar was in power, because his father was locked up in prison. And when we read about the takeover, it wasn't really the king of Babylon that got taken. It was the vice regent, which was his son, when you check out the history. Because his father, Nabu something, he was the one that was actually the king. And then he got released after 10 years, came back, but then his son was still kind of in that position, you know. But the father was the real authority behind it. But when Babylon got taken by Darius the Mede, it was taken under the hands of Belshazzar, which was the acting king, or he was the vice regent. Let's see. The brother put, yep, Nabonidus, the water, brother, the water. Yep, that's him. Nabonidus, yep, that's him. It says, the brother put, though he is referred to in the book of Daniel as the son of Nebuchadnezzar, the Babylonian inscription indicates that he was in fact the eldest son of Nabonidus, beautiful, who was king of Babylon from 555 to 539, right? Which he was pretty much, well, that was a king, Nabonidus, but then his son Belshazzar was actually vice regent, which is, a vice regent is one acting on behalf of the king, or under the king's order. And of Nitocris, who was perhaps a daughter of Nebuchadnezzar. Okay? So, it says, so all the whole land shall be confounded, and all her slain shall fall in the midst of it. Right? Because this place, America, Babylon the Great, which Jeremiah was referring to, even though he didn't understand it back then, is talking about America, which is going to be destroyed in this fashion by way of thermonuclear destruction. It says, then the heavens and the earth and all that is therein shall sing for Babylon, for the spoiler shall come unto her from the north, saith the Lord. Right, which that's dealing with the what? With the Russians that are going to fire those missiles. But not only the Russians, the Chinese, the Elamites, Pakistani, all nations that have missiles are going to be firing their missiles over here. Even America's own allies. It tells us that in Revelation 17. They're going to be the ones taking this place out. It says, as Babylon has caused the slain of Israel to fall, so at Babylon shall fall the slain of all the earth. So like for 1 minute, there's a precept here. 1849. Right, it says or the country. All right, for where it says earth, it says or the country. Yeah, because this place, everybody that's on the soils of America is going to be totally annihilated, totally destroyed. There's not going to be one survivor here. There ain't going to be no shelter, mountain retreat, underwater, whatever, that's not going to be taken, because the waters are going to be dried up from those missiles. The bunkers are going to be taken, though they dig into hell. Nothing, no place is going to be left here in America that's not thrown down. Only the lines of confusion and stones of emptiness shall inhabit this place. Then later on, the wild beasts. And the stones of emptiness basically means when you have stones, you do what? You build. Stones of emptiness means that there will be stones, but even the stones are going to be destroyed. You ain't gonna be nothing. It's going to be just scattered rubble, or burnt rubble, should I say. Not even rubble, just going to be ashes and pitch. So it says, Ye that have escaped the sword, go away. Stand not still. Remember the Lord Yahweh Bashem Shai far off, and let Jerusalem come into your mind. Why? Because that is our next destination from here. Going back to our land. It says, we are confounded because we have heard reproach. Shame hath covered our faces. It says, for strangers are come into the sanctuaries of the Lord's house, right? And they have taken the Lord's house. Why? Because it's prophecy. And one of the final prophecies concerning the land of Israel in its form, in its state right now, was Yahushua that said, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be come in. It says, be fulfilled. Wherefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, that I will do judgment upon her graven images, and through all her land the wounded shall groan. Why? Because this place was established upon witchcraft, Freemasonry. All of these things are established upon graven images. All of those different, seances, incantations, different things that these devils do, all go back to the ancient mystery religions of Babylon, Sumer, Egypt, and everything in that region. Because these devils have no originality, not even in their own, in wickedness have they originality. Everything that they have, they stole from somebody. Like you have these Edomites, that so-called white supremacists that call themselves Aryans, the Aryan race. Well, the original Aryan race are so-called East Indians, the Elamites. They stole that from them. They stole that from, they stole the Anglo-Saxon, they call themselves Anglo-Saxons. They stole that from Jake. Jake are the original Anglo-Saxons, or angelic sons of Isaac. The Aryans are East Indians, Elamites. So they have no originality, not even in their wickedness. Everything that they have, they took from somebody. They are not innovators. They are not creators. They are plagiarizers. They are parasites. They thrive off of other people's ideas, inventions, and things of that nature. They're destroyers. They're not builders. I mean, they build, but they are a destroying race of people. This is why everything that they touch gets destroyed. Here it is, you have the world's wealth. You have the world in the palm of your hand. You have more than heart could wish. But that you're not happy with that. You want to take everything else and make everybody else's life miserable. You don't need no more money. So why create all these different diseases and make all of these different pharmaceutical drugs that destroy people so that you can continually make more money? You don't need it. But they can never have enough. They're insatiable. It says, though Babylon should mount up to heaven, right? And they have. They've gone to the moon. So, Salakia, that was a slip of the tongue. They so-called told the world they've gone to the moon. They've gone up into space. They put their space stations out there, satellites. That was a slip of the tongue. They never went to the moon, and they will never go to the moon. Unless we punt them to the moon, just joking. But they've never went to the moon. They never gonna get to the moon. The Lord got a radiation belt around the earth to keep the atmosphere from outside of earth from coming into the atmosphere inside of earth, and vice versa. So you ain't getting through that, Esau. It says, though Babylon should mount up to heaven, and though she should fortify the height of her strength, right? They got space stations, right? Yet from me shall spoilers come unto her, saith the Lord. And what are these spoilers? Well, they're going to come in the form of the Russians and your allies, but it's really those missiles. That's really the spoilers of the Lord. the chariots from, from the lasers from the chariots too, but it's really those missiles which are the spoilers, because that's what's going to spoil and destroy you till there be nothing left here on the soils of America. It says the sound of cry cometh from Babylon, and great destruction from the land of the Chaldeans. Right? Why? Because when America goes down, the whole world is going to be, in awe, and they're going to be saddened, not because America is destroyed. They're going to be like, oh wow, but then they're going to be crying because they're not going to be able to make no more money off this hoe. They top hole going to be blown to bits. It says, their bottom bitch is going to be, lying in a ditch. It says, because the Lord has spoiled Babylon and destroyed out of her the great voice. Right, because that great voice that speaketh great things has gone out throughout the four corners of the earth, infecting the minds of the world. So much so that they're saying, we can piss God off. Doesn't matter. Because now that the Lord gave them, see, that's the thanks you get from the devil. The Lord gives them this technology, right? And what do? We don't need God anymore. We can, if he doesn't give us rain, we'll make our own rain. If he doesn't give us this, we'll make our own such and such. If he doesn't give us food, we'll make our own food. That's the thanks you get from the devil. It says, when her waves do roar like great waters, a noise of their voice is uttered. Because the spoiler, and then that voice is talking about when the missiles are on their way here, but it's also the words of the Lord being spoken to bring these things into existence. You see? Because the spoiler is come upon her, right? Even upon Babylon. And her mighty men are taken. Yeah, because there ain't no weapon formed that's going to be able to, divert these missiles when they come. It says, and her mighty men, Salakia, and her mighty men are taken. Every one of their bows is broken. What is the bow? The bow is the silos where these missiles, which is the arrow, are shot out of. Every one of their bows is broken, for the Lord power of recompenses shall surely requite. Right, because the Lord is going to pay you back. So don't be surprised when America goes to shoot her missiles, some of the missiles don't never come out, and when other missiles from other places come and hit them, they explode here along with those other missiles. Aha! Remember, the Lord is going to slap those missiles out of your hand, and he's going to guide them where he wants them to go. And I will make drunk her princes. That's dealing with, your so-called policymakers, congressmen, senators, the Senate House. And her wise men, her captains, your military, your strategists, and her rulers, mayors, whoever, and her mighty men, and they shall sleep a perpetual sleep. There's no escaping this, man. It's over. The Most High is about to put you to bed by, Esau. And not awake, saith the King, whose name is Yahweh of hosts. Yahweh Tazabawath, which is Lord of hosts. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the broad walls of Babylon shall be utterly broken. Right, and this here represents your defenses, because you really have no defenses. It says, this is the land of unwalled villages. And her high gates shall be burned with fire. Ancient Babylon was not burnt with fire. It was a complete takeover from Darius the Mede. The king, the vice regent, Belshazzar, the acting king for his father, and his noblemen, they were taken that night. They were drunk, and they were just taken over. They were killed. And Babylon was just pretty much, it was like handed over to the Medo-Persian Empire. They didn't burn down walls and burn down the whole city and, had this major long war where they had to put a siege against Babylon. No, it was just a takeover overnight. And the people shall labor in vain, and the folks in the fire, and the folk in the fire, and they shall be weary. That's right. And they shall be weary, right? Because their whole thing is America's military is so strong, we'll squash anybody, we'll squash any pinche bug out there that dares to confront America. We'll squash them, we'll thrash them, we'll nuke them, we'll destroy them, you know? We'll shit on them, we'll piss on them. Anyone that comes against us, but the Lord gonna make easy work out of you devils. All right, let's see what else we got on the list. Let's go to Ezekiel, as the high priests. Both of them used to say, High Priest Yaquab and High Priest Ariah. This is Ezekiel chapter 7 and verse 25. Now this particular prophecy pretty much happened in Israel, you know, with our forefathers. But this also applies today to those small hats over there. But we're applying this part of the prophecy to America today. Because listen to what it says. Ezekiel 7:25. Destruction cometh, and they shall seek peace, and there shall be none. Right. Because there ain't going to be no peace. Because when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. Mischief shall come upon mischief, and rumor shall be upon rumor. Where are we speaking about the rumors? Rumors of war. It says, then shall they seek a vision of the prophet, but the law shall perish from the priest, and counsel from the ancients. Because there's not going to be any form of explanation for this devastation that's coming, except for the Most High. They're not going to be able to find solutions to get out of this situation. It says we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her. You can't even take balm to help this place. There's not a quantitative easing. There's not a stimulus package. There's not any military strategy or anything that could save this place from being destroyed. It says the king shall mourn, the prince shall be clothed with desolation, and the hands of the people of the land shall be troubled. Why? Because of the devastation that's coming. Shall the trumpet be blown in the city and the people not be afraid? When they blow that trumpet that missiles are on their way here, what do you think people are going to be happy? You know what? The missiles are coming. Hey, let's break out the barbecue. Let's break out the grill. I've been saving this pack of bacon for a special occasion. What better occasion than now that the missiles are coming? No, they're going to be running, they're going to be hiding, and they're going to be a sweating. Inside joke. It says, I will do unto them after their way, and according to their deserts will I judge them, and they shall know that I am the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, because there's going to be a judgment upon this land. Just like there's going to be a judgment upon the land of Israel. Because that place is going to be totally wiped out also. Because it has to start all over again. It's totally polluted, man. It's something. It went from the most holy land on the planet to the most filthy land on the planet. Ain't that something? Ain't that a contrast? From the most holy to the most filthy. And that's why the Lord's going to burn it up and start all over again. So another precept I have is here, and we'll end it on this one. This is Jeremiah 50 now. Jeremiah 50 and we're going to start at verse 35. A sword is upon the Chaldeans. The Chaldeans in the ancient world represented the wise men of Babylon, the wisest men. This represents today the wisest men of Esau. That represents Babylon the Great in America. I mean, in the Bible, which is America. A sword is upon the Chaldeans, saith the Lord, and upon the inhabitants of Babylon, and upon her princes, and upon her wise men, because there's not going to be anything that they can do. They're wearied in the multitude of their counsels. They're not going to be able to figure out a way to escape this. A sword is upon the liars, because that's what they are, liars, and they shall dote. Yeah, because they're going to be all effed up. A sword is upon the mighty men, her mighty men, and they shall be dismayed. Yeah, because there's not going to be any might in their hands to be able to defend themselves. It says the sword is upon their horses and upon their chariots and upon all the mingled people that are in the midst of her. Right. That's dealing with the melting pot. And they shall become as women. All this mouth that people got now, when the Lord start bringing them things out, they ain't going to have all that mouth. They're going to turn into bitches. A sword is upon her treasures, and they shall be robbed. Yeah, because the missiles, the fire from the missiles, the fire from the lasers from the chariots is going to melt everything here. All their riches, all their houses, their mansions, their goodies, it's going to all be melted. The elements shall melt with fervent heat. A drought is upon her waters. There you go. Boom. This is why you have droughts. You know, and eventually the Lord with that fire is going to extinguish. It's going to evaporate the waters of Babylon the Great. And they shall be dried up, for it is a land of graven images, and they are mad upon their idols. Right, because America is a land that allows anyone to worship anything they want. You have so-called freedom of religion, which they claim to be a Christian nation, which that goes against every principle of the scriptures, freedom of religion. But they push it here. Why? Because this is Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. Therefore the wild beasts of the desert with the wild beasts of the islands shall dwell there. Yeah, this is after the destruction. And the owls shall dwell therein, and it shall be no more inhabited forever. Right, never ever again will there ever be a colonization, migration, anything here in the soils of America. It says, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. Why? Because it's going to be totally annihilated. As the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. See? And how was Sodom and Gomorrah destroyed? By nuclear fire, nuclear destruction, fire and brimstone, which was the Heavenly Father causing the elements in the heavens to come together and create fire, shooting down upon those five filthy cities. It says, it says, as the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah and the neighbor cities, because the Lord destroyed all 5 cities, Sodom, Gomorrah, Zeboim, Admah, and Zoar. It says, saith the Lord, so shall no man abide there, neither shall any son of man dwell therein, because it's going to be done, finished. Behold, a people shall come from the north, which are the Russians, and a great nation, and many kings shall be raised up from the coast of the earth. Right, because you have Russia and you have all of those other allies of Russia that are going to be involved in this war. So not only do you have Russia to contend with, you have all of Russia's allies to contend with, plus your own allies which are going to turn against you. Because every move you make affects them more than it affects you. The people in Europe are catching hell from energy prices going high because of the sanctions you put on Russia. They shall hold the bow and the lance, right, the missiles. They are cruel and will not show mercy, right, because the Lord said that they're not going to receive gold, silver, nothing is going to sway them. Why? Because the Lord is going to put an evil thought in their mind. So the Lord is going to possess, whoever is the king at that time of Russia to do this. Because if Putin is in there, he's ready to go. Even though he's in bed with them, eventually the Lord is going to turn his mind. But if he gets out of there, whoever goes up in there in that position, the Lord is going to make them do it. because the heart of the king is in the hands of the Lord. He molds it like silly putty. Their voice shall roar like the sea, and they shall ride upon horses, which is the military vehicles. Everyone put in array like a man to the battle against thee, O daughter of Babylon. Right. The king of Babylon hath heard the report of them. Right. Of these missiles on their way. And it says anguish took hold of him. Right. Because he's going to be shaken in his panties. It says, and pangs as of a woman in travail. Right, like a woman about to give birth. That's how this place is going to be. The men are going to be just the same way. It says, behold, he shall come up like a lion from the swelling of Jordan unto the habitation of the strong, but I will make them suddenly run away from her. And who is a chosen man that I may appoint over her? For who is like me? And who will appoint me the time? Right, because the Most High already set up the time. And who is that shepherd that will stand before me? So even the bravest souls among these military men are going to be turned into women. You know, when Yahushua and the angels come, they ain't going to be able to do shit. The strongest and mightiest and most masculine and rugged, you know, inside joke, dudes, they're going to turn into bitches. Therefore hear ye the counsel of the Lord that he hath taken against Babylon, and his purposes that he hath purposed against the land of the Chaldeans. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Who's that? That's Amalek, them small hats. Surely he shall make their habitation desolate. At the noise of the taking of Babylon, the earth is moved, right? Because it's going to rock to and fro like a drunkard. And the cry is heard among the nations, right? Because pretty much when the missiles hit, it's going to be over for America. She's going to be finished, finito, done. Nothing that she could do to get another second into her rulership. So with that, I pray that you brothers and few sisters have been edified. To the next time I say shalom, and that's perfect timing because the guy came back. They took lunch and he came back to finish mowing grass. Shalom.